another thing to think about is that the preparation financially that comes with moving around every couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go from A to B, right? And to get to A to B, if you're driving, which is what we typically do, you have to pay for gas and hotels and food and snacks and the whole thing. And if you're getting your own housing, which is what we typically do because that's how you save the most money. We won't get into that on this training.
No.
But you have to have a deposit, first month's rent, right? Like all of the things that get you from place to place to place, it costs money, right? So there's something to think about. Sometimes you can spend more money just traveling from place to place than you're actually like making. Mm-hmm. Well, that's really not true.
That's
but
not true.
It can be expensive.
Delete
right?
that.
But it can be expensive.
Right.
I'll end it with this.
What do they say in court? Objection.
What?
Overruled.
Okay, wait, let me just...
Jury will disregard that last statement.
Yes. Take that out because you won't. But you will spend money. Like, for instance, we just drove from San Diego to Florida. We're currently in St. Augustine Beach. We rented this amazing little beach cottage. We're in paradise, essentially. And another cool thing, we rented this for an entire month and we took off contracts. And we're just here enjoying the time because we have the freedom and space to be able to do that, which is winning, right? It's the life. But we drove from San Diego here and it was this amazing road trip and we had this really cool adventure and we could have just like hauled ass through it from, getting to point A to point B to save money. But we're like, let's just have kind of a fun, let's make it fun, right? Let's slow down. Let's, go to the Grand Canyon, go to Sedona, go to Nashville. We went to all these places and we ended up spending more money. But in that moment, it was about the adventure. Like, when do you get to like do stuff like that, you know? So
it's kind of one of the options, the way out. Like, a lot of people are like, I wanted to get in trouble because you make a lot of money. And you do. Like, you do make good money.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes, it depends on contracts and different things you take. And there's a lot of variables that go into that. And also a perception of where you came at in the country. We came from Florida. So, yes, traveling, you make a lot more than you do full-time in Florida.
Yeah.
So, therefore, with that being said, like, there's also this weird trade-off that you have that I feel is the biggest part is loving the adventure, right? Because no other place or no other profession, I feel, in my opinion, allows you the freedom enough to be able to do this and see the country and drive and stop in Amarillo and crazy little towns in Texas and different places that we would have never went and been like, man, this is actually a really cool place. Like, I'm glad we stopped here and took our time. And those are the cool things that you get out of traveling.
That being said, it is a financial obligation to be moving around like that every couple of months. It just is. We do get travel reimbursements. That's a whole nother thing with our pay. It really all comes out of the same place anyways.
Right.
But you don't get that up front, people.
Right.
You got to pay for it out of pocket. So you have to have the money up front to get yourself around.
And again, I'm going to, like, one of Kim and I's mentors always says, everything is figure-outable.
Yeah.
That is very true. If you really want something, everything is figure-outable. So if you don't want to have to save a whole bunch of money and you just want to shoot through, well, then that's your choice, right?
Yeah.
You can do it frugally. We have done it frugally.
Yes.
And we've also taken our time. So that's a choice you get to make. But one of our things is we try to save about $5,000 when we are making that road trip, because that allows us enough time to, plus we have, a lot of cushion there. We're not saying that we spend $5,000 every time we transition, but it gives us enough cushion that we feel good about. That is our kind of end of contract, our buffer. There's always that $5,000 that we have. That's our kind of spending to get us from one place to another, in case anything ever went wrong. And also moving into a new, apartment complex, moving into a new city, and all the things that come with that. That's kind of what we do. And plus, it also covers our bills, because you have to think about it. If you're on a bi-weekly pay schedule, so I'm about to start a contract on May 28th, I won't get paid until 3 weeks later, right? Because I have to go 2 weeks, and then I get paid on that third week to actually generate a paycheck. With that, if I had travel reimbursements, it would be coming on that check. So it's not like they gave it to me before. I get it on that first paycheck. So it might be a bigger paycheck, but I don't get it for 3 weeks in. So you have to think about that too. If you're on a just weekly, then it's going to take 2 weeks to get paid, because you got to work the week and then you get paid the next week. So always thinking about that too when you are traveling. Kim and I had to borrow money when we first started traveling,
well,
so we didn't have any money. So it's not like you need this huge nest egg. Kim and I had to borrow some money to get to our first contract.
We had no money, okay?
None.
Like, we sold our house in the worst market.
In Florida.
Like, had to put so much money into it. We had no money. We had to cash in our 401ks. Like, we were a hot mess. Now, so we had to borrow money because we knew, we're traveling no matter what. Like, this is our jam. We're going to figure it out. And so we borrowed money. We were able to pay it back. But in retrospect, if I could have prepared a little bit better, that's like a great gauge to kind of go off of. Right. Is just when you take time off of work, if you're not going from contract to contract to contract and you want that wiggle room in between, it's the freedom we have, but knowing you do not get paid for it. There's no PTO, sick days, travel days. Like, it comes on your dime. So you have to support yourself financially, going through all of the transitions and taking all of the time off.
Right. Right.
We took 6 months off last year to travel through Asia. Amazing experience. We could take 6 months off of life and just go backpacking through Asia, but we didn't get paid for it, right? No. We had to make sure that we were supported in that. And so freedom, but you got to set yourself up to be able to sustain
and
that.
So, you know, one little option too, always to look into, is you can take company housing. We don't suggest, you can make the most money as a traveler by finding your own housing. Yes. Okay. Period. We'll get into that. Maybe, no, I don't know if we will or not. But you can take the company's housing, especially on your first contract, to kind of feel it out, because in that way you don't have to put a down payment down. If you do travel with a pet, then you do have to pay the pet deposit because your company will not pay that for you. But you'd have to do that, and that's all you'd have to put up front, right?
Right.
But little note, if you do take time off, right, they charge you when they find your housing for you, yes. Right? So they're going to hit you with a bill to say, you missed a week of work. Well, that's like $75 per day, and we need that money, and they will take that out of your next check, right? So just little things to understand, but you don't have to put anything down, which is
right. So that might be
good.
We've only taken company housing one time
in 6 years.
One time, and it was because we were coming back from Europe. We blew all of our money, and pretty much, and we had to drive all the way across the country, and we were going to San Francisco. It's expensive, and we just wanted it to be super, super easy. We were tired, right, from all of our like wine drinking and bread eating. So we wanted it to be easy. And so we just showed up, and we didn't have to pay anything out of pocket. And that is so nice. The other thing with that is that if you do take company housing, which again, we're not like pro company housing, we'll only do it if it feels good to you in a certain situation. But if you say your contract starts on the 28th, you can only move in 2 days earlier to like get set up. So you can't move in and like take a week and like settle in and like the whole thing. So anyways, that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah, it's crazy rabbit hole.
Something to think about.
Yes, it is something to think about. One big thing
to put that in perspective, we have an entire module just on housing. How we get housing, how we've saved over $40,000 in 6 years in housing. All of that is an entire
module,
7-lesson module in Traveler School. Yeah. So
that's how. Yeah, plus it's our jam. But
I'm kind of really good at it.
I
help people find housing all the time.
Amazing at it.